Welcome to Stonewatch. This is my open spoiler discussion for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. And if you haven't already, please smash the subscribe button and click on that bell so you can be notified of future videos. And be sure to give this video a thumbs up. And yes, after watching the latest MCU movie, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings on its opening weekend, I gotta say, this movie was pretty damn good. I mean, I'm not going to say this is like the best MCU movie that I've ever seen, but this one ranks up there in my top 10 for sure. I mean, for sure. Now, I will admit I am not really big on all the lore that is in the Shang-Chi comic books. I've never read one personally. I don't know if I've ever actually seen one, to be quite honest with you, but this movie was awesome. I actually want to go do a deep dive into that lore so I can actually understand more of what I actually just saw today. I mean, this movie was a lot of fun. Even though I didn't really know the story from the comics all that well, I still really enjoyed this story. And the character dynamics between Simu Liu and Awkwafina was just off the charts, man. I mean, I loved it. I mean, I bought into like they were friends for a really long time, and probably almost like it seemed like they were kind of like a couple. Even like the grandma said, like, when you two getting married? And she's like, oh, come on. I mean, but it kind of looked like that's what was going to happen, right? Maybe we'll see something like that in Shang-Chi 2, because the word of mouth is totally positive on this movie right now. I mean, the Rotten Tomato scores are just through the roof on the critics and the audience side, and I'll get to more of that later on in the video. But I mean, this movie is really, really well done. I totally enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to go see it again. And without getting the heavy spoilers right off the bat, we got to see a character that I didn't think that we would see or hear from ever again, unless it was only in a passing reference, which actually, it was kind of funny because they actually did that passing reference in this movie. And then later on in this movie, that character showed up. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And then he ended up being in pretty much like the rest of the movie. And he survived. You know, spoiler, this character survived the events of this movie. So that's all I can really say without really going into heavy spoilers right off the bat. So, and like I said at the beginning of this video, this is an open spoiler discussion video. So I will be talking about some spoilers for the movie Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So if you have not seen that movie already, please go watch it and come on back and let's talk about it. Okay. With that being said, let's move on. Oh, and I wanted to bring this up. This is starting to be like a new MCU thing. They took footage from the movie Shang-Chi and turned it into like the shut your phone off announcement at the beginning of the movie. Now, what am I talking about? For the ones who don't know what I'm talking about, when I went to go see Black Widow earlier on this year, they had the turn your phone shut off announcement thing using footage from the movie Black Widow. Now, I don't remember whether or not if those scenes were in the actual movie for Black Widow to be offhand, but for the one that they did for Shang-Chi, I recognize that scene. Now, I don't know if it's the exact same footage. It almost seems like they shot that footage for that purpose, or it was just edited. It was edited really well to where I could see that in that movie, and it kind of was in that movie, but they added like the phone ringing part to it. I thought that was really cool that they did that with. Now, that is 2 MCU movies they've done that for. So I wonder when Eternals come out later on this year, if they're going to do another thing just like that with Eternals. I mean, that was really funny. This one was a lot better than the Black Widow one, I have to say personally. So that's just me. I wanted to bring that up before I forgot because I thought that was pretty damn cool. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is a 2021 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics featuring the character Shang-Chi. Produced by Marvel Studios and distributed by Walt Disney Studio Motion Pictures. It is the 25th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This movie was directed by Destin Daniel Cretton. From the screenplay he wrote with Dave Callahan and Andrew Lanham, based on the story by Cretton and Callahan. A film based on Shang-Chi entered development in 2001, but work did not begin in earnest until December 2018 when Callahan was hired. Cretton would join in March of 2019, and the project fast-tracked as Marvel's first film with an Asian lead. The film's title and primary cast were announced that July, revealing the film's connection to the Ten Rings organization, which previously appeared throughout the MCU, and its leader, Wen Wu, portrayed by Liang. Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings is the first Marvel Studios film with an Asian director and a predominantly Asian cast. Filming began in February of 2020, but was put on hold in March due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Production resumed in August before completing in October, with additional shooting occurring in Sydney and San Francisco. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings premiered in Los Angeles on August 16th of 2021 and was released in the United States on September 3rd of 2021 as part of the Phase 4 of the MCU. The film has received positive reviews from the critics, praising the choreography of the action scenes, the exploration and representation of the Asian culture, and the performances of Liu and Li Yang. Starring in this film, Simu Liu Awkwafina, Munyer Zhang, Fela Chen, Florian Montiano, Benedict Wong, Michelle Yao. And spoiler alert on this one, kids, Ben Kingsley returns as Trevor Slattery. Man, like I said before, I was so geeked when he first appeared in this movie, and when they mentioned him in like that passing reference beforehand, I thought this is just badass. And it was so cool that he was in it, and he was funny as hell. And Tony Lee Young, just to name a few. Now, the basic plot of the movie is this. Martial arts master Shang-Chi confronts the past he thought he left behind when he's drawn into the web of the mystery of the Ten Rings organization. Now, currently, Shang-Chi is sitting at a Rotten Tomato score of 92% and an audience score of 98%. Now, I have to say, like, that's the highest audience score I've ever seen for a movie. But then again, I've only really been following like the Rotten Tomato scores like closely more now than I ever have in years past, to be quite honest with you. So I could be completely wrong on it, but it's the highest score I've seen myself personally. Now, with a budget of $150 million, we're just going to have to wait and see how it performs at the box office to see whether or not if this movie makes its money back or not. Now, the one thing this movie's got going for it that Black Widow did not, this does not have a Disney Premium Access release on Disney Plus going on right now. So you want to see this movie, you got to go to the theaters to see it. And if you want to see it again, you got to go to the theaters to see it again. So I didn't pay for the all Premium Access for Black Widow. I actually saw it in the theater, but I only saw it once. I wanted to see it again, and I'm waiting for it to be available on Disney Plus with my subscription before I actually see it again. And I don't think that's going to be until like October 6th. Is when it's available just for a regular Disney Plus subscription. So that's like be the next time I'm going to see Black Widow. Now, as far as Shang-Chi goes, I'm going to go see this movie in the theater again, right? Now, I got to say right off the bat, 15 or 2, I went matinee on this movie, mainly because I'm cheap. I mean, I say it all the damn time. If I could save a buck here and there, especially go see a good movie, I'm all in. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I was at the theater this morning at 10 o'clock to see that movie, right? I mean, there was barely anybody in the theater. I got my ticket. Actually, it took me a little bit to find my electronic ticket in my email. But then once I did that, I got my bottle of water, sat down and watched the movie. I had a great time with this movie. I personally don't consider this a spoiler, but there are 2 post-credit scenes in this movie. Now, the first one follows right after the ending where Wong picks up Shang-Chi and Katie takes him back to the inner sanctum because there's things to talk about. Now, when we go into this post-credit scene, we got Wong, Captain Marvel, Bruce Banner, Shang-Chi, and Katie talking about the power of the Ten Rings. Now, I think there was a lot more going on in this scene than I realized, and I'm looking so forward to watching those breakdown videos of what you missed and all that other jazz. I mean, I like to make those videos here, but it's just me. I don't have the army of people like they do. You know what I'm saying? So I like you, but I just ain't got the people to do it with. So anyway, that's the topic for a whole nother video. Now, the second post-credit scene is pretty much little sister taking the place of her father at the head of the Ten Rings organization, even though her brother is the one who actually has the 10 rings. So I'm not really sure exactly how that works. Maybe she wins it by default. I don't know. But she is a pretty badass fighter. She was the one that was running the underground fight ring, and even we got to see Wong and the Abomination doing like what turned out to be a friendly sparring match, right? I mean, that was kind of funny. I mean, you watched the trailers, and it seemed like that was more like to a death-like type fight, and you come to find out that it's not, right? And like also, Shang-Chi was in the trailer. It looked like he was going to be fighting Abomination, and turns out he was actually fighting her sister, and her sister kicked his ass. So I don't know, man, this movie was awesome. The fight scenes, the choreography was just so kick-ass. I mean, no shaky cam in this movie, right? I mean, it was just awesome, and you could see everything, and it was just so beautifully done, to be quite honest with you. You know, I'm not familiar with all the forms of the martial arts that we saw in this movie, I'll be quite honest with you, but I loved it every single minute of it. I mean, it was just so kick-ass to watch. I don't know, man. Did you see Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings? Let me know in the comments down below. Did you like it? Where does this movie rank with you with the rest of the movies in the MCU? Let me know in the comments down below. I mean, for me personally, this one's in my top 10, totally in my top 10. And I cannot wait to go see this movie in the theaters again, because this movie was meant to be seen in the theaters. Now I'll watch it when it hits Disney Plus later on down the road, because I've already probably seen it at least like 2 or 3 times by then. But I cannot wait to see this movie in the theaters again. So let me know what you think in the comments down below.